Neil,
Yeah.
what show number do we have tonight?
600 and a lot. 600 and quite a few.
How many times has Nick been on the show?
More than enough.
I'm surprised I'm even welcome back.
How many times have you butchered his name?
I
did that once, and then I literally sat in a room that had no windows, no doors, and just sat there.
And you
practiced.
butchered it? It was
I
terrible. You practiced?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've seen you,
It's perfect
historically, I've seen you butcher it
But
terribly.
perfect practice makes perfect. So if you
This
practice
is the
makes
most
perfect.
important content that we have to cover.
It is. It's
I mean, this is going to take up a third of the show.
okay, and by the way, did we not talk about this earlier? With our guest tonight, Shaun Burns? We talked about how long we would butcher the name. Nik Strong-Cvetich is here.
Uh-huh.
You
How's
had
that?
it so good in the practice, and then it,
I ruined
it came. You
Damn
jumped under
it.
the brush.
Oh, whatever. Nick
Strong-Cvetich.
Strong-Cvetich.
He could do it. He actually got it.
Nik Strong-Cvetich.
After
Is that an
you know
English?
the embarrassing thing is I think you
I
guys
said
had me
about
on.
having sex one time too.
What? You
What?
said that is embarrassing.
Hold everything.
Wait, can we edit
Hold
this?
it.
Oh,
Shut
no.
up.
No.
Can we edit this
just
on
kidding.
post-production?
You said it. No, it's like, I was only kidding.
So
I was
you
kidding.
said that during sex?
I was kidding.
Nick, did you hear that?
Can we
I
cut?
jumped out of my seat so fast ever.
Yeah, we're done.
You actually moved the tripod around. That's a serious offense right there. I'm
Okay,
flabbergasted. Usually I know what to say. I don't know what to say other than if you were trying to make a kid, that was a good strategy. You yell out my name. Or you're trying to chase off this poor woman. This poor
You've
woman.
been pushing kids out for what? Yeah.
Well, I don't push them out. I
You
just,
don't, but you
Neil, is there a woman out there watching the show right now saying, God damn it, I can't believe you said
I'd like
that?
to apologize.
Okay.
Can I look directly in the camera and apologize to that woman?
Let's
Because
introduce our special guest.
it's just,
Okay, tonight, everybody, please welcome to the show Mr. Shaun Burns. Thank you to be here tonight. And here's why I just want to say something. You have never been on the show.
no,
First time.
first time.
And what's amazing, Neil, about this, I think, am I wrong to say you've been a professional surfer since 2011? Is that about right?
Right around there.
Yeah. And so it's been a bit. You've been
been
doing
40
this here in this town. My question is, why haven't you been here before?
He's actually never been to the east side.
Oh, is that why? Okay, well, that's...
That's part of the problem.
Well,
They
Nick,
gave me
thank
the
you.
tour of the east side.
Okay, yeah.
Surfed
So
it for the first time today.
the first time today? Come on, bro. I know you've been in a million contests with the hook.
I guess I haven't gotten an invite from you guys yet.
All right, well, I'm glad you're here. And the reason I want you here is, Neil, we talk about this all the time. We are going to record the history of Santa Cruz,
I can
right?
only think he's shaking his head going, what the heck am I doing with this damn show? This is ridiculous. First of all, we meet and have a couple of beers, then we come do the show.
Of course.
He's on par, he's on track.
We pregame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. And by the way, can we please just say a fond hello to Pete Madden?
Say hi to Pete Madden.
Yeah, who's watching? Pete, thanks for the beers. I appreciate that.
Came
Pete's
over
our
our
Great Lakes
professional
surfer.
wrestler. He came
Yep.
on Wrecking Ball.
The bleeder.
He had to surf in Santa Cruz for 4 days and he had applause.
Well,
That's
thank
for the
you,
board.
Pete, yeah.
He's stoked.
Okay, back, Shaun. I want to get back to 2011, when you decided to become a professional surfer.
Yeah.
Who influenced that? Where's all this come from?
I think just all the surfers in Santa Cruz that, before my time, like Ratboy, Peter Mel, Flea, Matt Rockhold, Russell, and Tyler Smith. And, the list could go on forever in
It's a
Santa
boys'
Cruz.
club for sure. So you're winning some events, getting the results. The first sponsor that encouraged it, was there a sponsor that said, "Hey, let's try to make this go to the next level"? Was there somebody that said kicked you in gear?
Probably my dad.
Oh,
He's the one sponsoring all the gas money, driving to the contest and the contest fees. I didn't have a sponsor paying for that stuff, so I didn't have to think about that stuff as a kid. So that's what I was.
Did he drive you up and down the coast?
Yeah,
Yeah.
driving me up and down the coast, to NSSA contests and stuff like that. So he'd be my first.
was he a little league dad? Would he like choke you out if you pearled or something?
He
Like,
was the biggest little league dad. Yeah.
really? Yell the judges, dad?
So, yeah. Oh yeah. So
You
I think
yell at
that's-
the judges,
I think
too?
that's why I like surfing is because I could get out in the ocean, kind of couldn't hear him, but apparently I could hear it. He had this whistle that no one else on the beach could hear, but I could hear. It was
Dog whistle?
Why? It was like a dog
parents
whistle.
have
yeah.
that whistle ability? I'm a parent now. I don't know how to do that, but parents. My mom used to be able to just do this whistle.
Yeah.
You could hear it from like 3 miles away, and you're like, I gotta come back. Shoot, my mom just did the whistle, right?
Oh yeah,
And then
I'm a
you
victim
could
of
hear the
that.
whistle. Your
Yeah.
dad had the whistle.
Was it the
Do you have
set?
a whistle,
Was it-
TC? Can
No,
you
my
do this?
dad. My dad. I could be 3 miles away, and my dad could
You did the
whistle.
whistle.
And I knew time to go home.
And they never taught you because then you'd have the whistle,
I can't whistle.
and then
yeah.
I don't have the whistle.
Yeah. Oh, it's a one and
My
done.
parents had a bell.
So this whistle, what was it like outside? Was it
It was like a really, yeah, it was
like
at,
the next like
at
paddle?
Oh, like, it was like try harder pretty much is like what I like got from it. It was like outside, waves are coming, out the back. You're not in the right spot. I kind of took it poorly, but like I should have taken it as like, I could use this as an advantage. But I was just like Grom, like thinking of my dad, like, I don't want him to like tell me what to do,
Right. So there's times you want to throw your board down and tell him to f off after a heat. Like, was there that energy on during that time?
Yeah. I mean,
Was there ever a point
should
where
nice
like
say that. He should
he's
nice
not?
say
I know
that.
I get it because it's your dad, right? But was there ever times you're like, Dad, let up. I'm just trying to have fun.
no, yeah, for sure there was. There was a lot of that. I was just trying to have fun. And I think that's why I still am so into surfing these days is because like when I was a kid, I was definitely like loved to compete. But yeah, he pushed me really hard where I was like, dude, I just like to compete just for fun.
Right.
But I still love to compete these days, but I just don't have my dad whistling at me, which is
Honestly,
nice.
Neil, I think in today's world, to be successful at any sport and be a professional, it takes a parent who will endorse it and give up what they might love to make your dream come true, if that's your dream. Because it takes that. You can't do it by yourself. No one. When you're 15, you don't have a car. Someone's got to drive you, right?
For sure. I think these days it's cool to see like coaching, in Santa Cruz. I've seen a lot of kids like being coached and like kind of being shown like the route of a professional surfer, which is like kind of like new these days. Like I wish I had that when I was younger. Like I coach and help out with some of the Santa Cruz high school kids, and like damn, I would have loved to heard that, like just stay your course, like work on the fundamentals, don't get like so down on yourself if you're not having a bad session. Like that's stuff that I would have loved to hear, but I had my dad kind of yelling at me. But yeah.
Well, as an example, let's just maybe, is there a name of a good coach right now in Santa Cruz that you think is doing a good job?
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt Myers he's got his
course.
Myers mentorship.
Right.
That's doing really good, and yeah, he's having some good results with it, which
And
is
it's
cool
great
to
to see Matt Myers back in Santa Cruz, right? Because
Yeah.
he took off on his rip curl extravaganza, and he started his coaching thing. Is that somebody that you could recommend to an up and comer to embrace right now? Is Matt Myers?
For sure. I think it's in a way, it's kind of almost like the new localism. Like, we were just talking about it. There used to be a lot of, more aggressive, I guess, you'd say people in the water, which I wouldn't say is a bad thing because it teaches you a lot of respect. But these days it seems like it's more in like a easier way of like, learning the respect in the water and learning about order in the water, but instead of just kind of getting snapped on.
Right.
You get to kind of like ease into it and learn from like a coach of, that's kind of like the beginner side of it. But then when you get into more like contest strategy and really into surfing, then yeah, there's a ton to learn that Myers and, all the surfers ahead of you that can teach you. But, unless you're kind of like sitting down with them and having, multiple sessions together, you're not really going to learn, much strategy until you like put in the
Who
time.
taught you to compete? I mean, you had surfing, had your dad on the beach, yes, but who taught you? Did it come across to you? At what point did it come across to you that I want to compete? A lot of people don't want to compete. It's so different. And who taught you to compete, or did you teach yourself?
I mean, from an early age, I think competing, like it was my dad, just like, playing football, baseball and stuff.
Right.
But then it'd probably be my good friend, Nat Young, who everyone knows is like, the best competitor in Santa Cruz, on the WCT. Competing with him, just battling for waves. He was probably like my friend that just taught me how to compete and, catch waves.
Does that friendship be put aside when you have to compete with Nat? Do you kind of put that off the side, come back to it later on because you're competing with it? Or
There's no friends on a powder day, man.
Right.
You know that, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the hard part of competition. It's like you do got to put that aside. Like I
It
know,
stays on the beach.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I know my competitors would,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of like the mindset you got to get into is like, yeah, you're friends on the beach, but
Eaten or be eaten.
Yeah.
Like you have to be aggressive. And,
Yeah.
and that's I guess, maybe the secret to success is how you leave your and Nat's friendship on the beach to kick his ass in the ocean, right?
yeah, and I mean it's all help.
Have you beaten Nat before?
I think in like probably just like one-on-one maybe do like practice contests, or I think there's like one Volcom contest that I beat him at that.
He's still mad about it.
Is he still
I mean-
mad? How many times have you been in a heat with Nat?
I mean, my fondest memory is at the Coldwater Classic, like trials, I think, and I like missed a wave and like he beat me. That's what I was like really upset about. It was like our only one-on-one competition, but I think I've beaten him in like one, maybe two finals that I'm here now talking about.
you guys talk about it?
Take that,
You
Nat.
guys talk about it?
No,
Yeah.
he's so competitive, like
Yeah.
he's you can't bring up stuff like that or
Right.
else he'll just it's a nerve strike for sure. But
You are a graduate of Cal Poly.
right.
And so, how different was it in your growing up here in Santa Cruz versus your 4 years down there in San Luis Obispo County surfing? Was it different down there?
It was way different. Yeah, like you mentioned, like just fueling the fire for doing competition. Growing up like with Nat, we were both so competitive, and I saw him take off. He was doing so good, and I saw my path kind of go in a different route. I wasn't getting as good of results, and I had this really good opportunity. I got some financial support from my grandparents to go to college, and I got into Cal Poly, which is a really good school. And the only thing I knew at the time was it had really good waves.
Right, of course. Yeah.
And granted, I didn't know how good of a school it was, but looking back on it, it was one of the best decisions I made, and I made a lot of good, friends that I'm still friends with today. And so yeah, I'm super happy I did that. But yeah, I lost out on a little bit of a surfing competitions and career that I could have had, but looking back on it, I would have done the same.
Well, you've created a career outside of surfing, and we'll talk more about that.
It's good to have that education.
Yeah,
in your
but
back
it's-
po-
yeah.
have that education in your back pocket
Yeah.
because you're gonna need it someday.
And for sure, I think in hindsight, it'll be the best decision of your life. While in San Luis, were you a couple of dudes down there that you hung out with and surfed around with down there, or were you kind of solo?
I'm an only child, so I'm kind of independent, just as on my own. But and yeah, it's down there in San Luis Obispo, you can get like solo sessions down there, which is kind of nice. There's so many waves, but yeah, buddies like Russell Holiday, who's a great photographer. I'd shoot with him. My buddy Patrick Berkemer, Skylar Nilsson, Gavin Albertoli, just roommates of mine. I'd just hang around people that surfed. But yeah, as far as like competing and being on a professional surfing level, I was kind of just by myself, and I just had to push myself to try and surf every day because I knew I wanted to compete after college.
Right.
And when some people were studying, which I probably should have been, or going partying or something, I was trying to stay in the water as much as I could.
Are you sponsored by Neil, correct?
Yeah.
Did you having an education that help you as far as when they approached you as far as being one of their surfers? Having
You
an
were with
education.
O'Neill before you went to college, right?
I started writing for O'Neill, my second year at college.
Okay.
Okay.
So I've been on them for writing for O'Neill for 8 years now. And yeah, I actually just took on an elevated role as starting this year, working with them. And they have their O'Neill Blue and O'Neill Oceans mission going on. And so I studied environmental management. And so they kind of wanted to bring me on board to work on, helping with the ocean, which is also what I do with, Save the Waves. So yeah, like you said, my environmental degree at Cal Poly, helped pave my
Right.
future
Right.
work.
And was being aware of the ocean and maybe what's going on, was that part of what made you decide that was going to be your degree and mission, I guess?
I think like growing up in Santa Cruz, you get a love for the ocean. You know, we all do. And I think at school, I kind of learned like the behind the scenes of like how everything works, you know, like permits and just the process of everything. But I don't think it was until I started traveling out after school when I was, you know, competing on the WQS. I started traveling to places like Indonesia, Philippines, Australia. I saw the ocean, you know, not just in Santa Cruz, but globally. And
in good condition or bad condition?
both.
Yeah.
You know, I saw places in Australia like the Gold Coast that was taken care of really well, but I saw places like in the Philippines or Indonesia that they're just dumping garbage off the side of the cliff.
Right.
And, you know, poor water quality in places. And so, you know, I came back and I got an opportunity from Save the Waves to work on the oceans. And, you know, luckily with my environmental degree, I had the certifications and, you know, enough knowledge to take on a role there.
So he came up.
Segue to Nick,
Yeah,
right?
segue. So Nick, you've been Save the Waves for how long? A lot. I mean, that was about 2013.
Not very long. That's like 9 years ago.
Well, for my office,
I've only been there for 9
2 weeks.
years. Yeah.
2 weeks, right,
Yeah.
Nick?
I'm just getting my start, getting my sea legs.
You brought him on. Why?
Yeah, aside from that, I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for Shaun. Just pretend I'm not saying all these nice things about you sitting right next to you here, but I think the opportunity that he had and the pressure that he probably felt when he was up and coming, you know, like alongside of Nat, and that pressure to be like the top of Santa Cruz as a professional surfer is a lot. But he kind of put the pause on that to go to school. And like, I just have a lot of respect for that because he thought of something bigger than just that, like, how hard can I rip? Am I the raddest dude? You know, and I think that's actually maybe set him up better. Like, we have a good friend and ambassador at Save the Waves, Cliff Capono, that again is like, he's in the top of his prime in kind of his surf career, but he also went back and, you know, he got his PhD in chemistry.
Right.
So the dude's freaking smart.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think like there is this ability to actually further your surf career by doing these bigger, broader things. And that's what's really cool about what I think Shaun has been doing. And kind of like, you know, like he came on, I actually can't remember things that have happened more than 2 years ago, so forgive me. But Shaun came on about...
Did you know, at an early age, you need to have something beyond surfing? You know, surfing's going to take you so far, and you needed to have something that was going to take you even further.
I always thought about that, but you know, in my ideal world, you know, I would have been a professional surfer. You know, I would have been on the CT right now.
Right.
But you know, the results didn't pan out. But even if I was on the CT, I'd always be trying to look after the environment. Like, that's always been a calling of mine. And yeah, I mean. Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? So
Yeah,
people watching for you for the first time, and you've been on the show plenty more than enough, and you won't ever be able to come back. But no, just kidding.
Is there people watching?
Yeah, exactly. 3 people.
There's 5 people
But anyway,
watching.
So the mission of Save the Waves is
Yeah, we exist just primarily to protect surf ecosystems around the globe. So that combination of like amazing waves that harbor important, you know, plants and animals and communities as well. We've seen around the world where communities dependent on these waves. That's our mission, is to protect surf ecosystems. And I think, go back to your previous question, Shaun was an intern at Save the Waves about 4 years ago, and he just made a really, really good impression. Like, he was really diligent about the work he was doing. He's really humble. He's really organized. And we've seen a lot of different people come through, and there's people that just want to like surf and talk about stuff and hang out, and that's cool. That's cool. But we actually work pretty hard at Save the Waves.
Right.
And so to see somebody come in and like, it's like, okay, he's got like a lot of pedigree as like one of Santa Cruz's best surfers, but he's fucking in here. Oops, sorry, can I say that over here?
Yeah.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, you can say,
I thought
swear.
I haven't been on here for a while. The
We're not
KSCO
FCC.
people come and just, you know, like, but
You
I will
can
say
say
again,
fuck. It's okay.
my kids might be watching, so I don't
Okay.
know. But he'd show up and do the work. And so as we were expanding and growing and we had a bigger presence in Santa Cruz, like, it made just a lot of sense working together. And it was always like just a cool opportunity given his background of like, serious studies on environmental science and serious chops within the surf community.
Right.
Like, and this global perspective that he talked about. It's like, he's been out of Santa Cruz. He knows what the good is. He knows what the bad is. He's been to these places. He's seen the challenges.
Yeah.
That's a lot of perspective. So like,
And he wants to do something about it.
yeah.
Well, you're putting your degree to work now.
Yeah,
I mean, and I hope your dad's proud of you, right?
yeah, totally. And I mean, interning with Save the Waves, I was like, when I wanted to come back, or when I started working for him, you guys still took surf breaks, which I was stoked to see. It was a lot of hard work, but it was like,
You got to go
it was
surf.
a bunch of surfers, and I was like, I want to be with them, like I'm a surfer, but I also care about oceans and the environment, and it's
Right.
like, yeah, like as long as I work hard, I can still take breaks to go find these windows to go surf, and like that's like organization I want to be
I've
with.
noticed though, however, when we go surfing, we're actually talking about two different activities because what I do and call surfing and what he does and call surfing are very different.
Right.
Very,
He turns and you don't.
very
Is
di- I kind of do my wiggles, and then I'm like, oh,
He's
I
gone.
see him way above the lip. Look at that. Oh, yeah.
So,
thanks.
Shaun, is there anything with your surfing that you haven't accomplished? Is there something is there a checklist, like something you haven't done yet?
I
You've
think,
traveled the world.
I mean, yeah, just as a competitor, like I've always wanted to win a major contest, like a WSL contest or a cold water classic, for instance. That's kind of been my dream list, seeing.
So far, your best result?
I got second at the cold water classic when it was like an invitation only.
So, being an ambassador for O'Neill, is O'Neill bringing back the Cold Water Classic, do you think?
Well, that's actually something I'm working on with O'Neill.
Oh, really?
And yeah, working with the team and events.
It may come back?
Yeah, we're planning on having the cold water classic this November.
Oh, wow.
That's big news, Neil.
There
We're
we
breaking
go.
news right now.
Is that
Is that official?
Can I
It's
take
not-
that?
Is Pat O going to call me and yell at me for that?
It's not 100%, but
Okay.
the dates are on hold, which
Wow.
is good.
Which,
Yeah.
it's...
Now, is it the same format?
It's a natural for Santa Cruz to have a cold water classic, in my
Right.
opinion. So, congrats to hoping to have another one. Neil, go
That
ahead.
would be something a town would look forward to.
It's just a
It's
tradition.
missing.
Oh, it's so epic.
Yeah,
It's
a,
like-
You get the
yes.
place that has it's the arena of surfing.
Yeah.
And it's not having you have to have a
Coliseum.
contest there.
The
Coliseum
time I
surfing.
saw Kong do that giant floater, I was like, oh my! It's like you can look back on classic cold water moments,
Or the 2012 one where it was like a CT event and everybody's here and you're like, Parco at Pleasure
Right.
Point. What
Yes.
is going on here?
Well, and like Barton Lynch, like there's some amazing moments in history of the Cold Water Classic. Archie was here like 8 years ago or something, and he made the semis. Like when the cool guys come back, the young kids are coming up. Like the cold water is, and then the scaredy cats who don't come.
It's put a lot of Santa Cruz people on the map too. Just
Absolutely.
There's
Now,
so
with the
many-
popularity of surfing in Santa Cruz has gotten so big, times 10 or times 50 the amount of people are surfing, to have a contest like that is just it's got to be a win-win situation, I would think.
yeah, it's really influential.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
all of us are talking about it. Just the fond memories of like how rad the cold water was.
Awesome.
Favorite memory?
Probably.
He did get second, so that's kind of.
Well, but outside of second, like you, maybe being a Grom.
Yeah, I do have a good memory. As I can't remember who won, but I remember my dad and took me down, and there was like one parking lot left because it was the award ceremony. It was like right when someone won, and he was like, "There's only a handicap spot left. Like, I'm just gonna act like I'm injured." Like, and he parked in the handicap. He's like, all right, I'm just going to wobble. Like, I'm going to act like I'm injured. And we got to the award ceremony, and he put me on my shoulders after he was hobbling. And I remember seeing Jack, give a speech, and that was like, seeing Jack with the eye patch, just like how much of a legend he was. Like, I'll never forget, like, how many people were just watching, and I don't even know who won, but I don't even care. It was just like, I was just so...
That's a great memory.
Yeah, I'm like, getting chicken skin just
When
like
your
living it.
dad drags a leg to go watch this award ceremony in the cold water, that's an amazing memory. Seriously.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. I remember there's so many people there, and just, I have so many memories just like ditching school at high school or, class just to go, watch a heat that I want to see some person, surf, or, my best friend, that young, winning,
Yeah,
like
that
watching
was-
the
And
final
I mean,
event.
talk about Roof and like, Pete, Steve Price. Like, there's been people through the years who've had amazing finishes at the cold water, and it's such a big part of this town that I'm glad to hear that O'Neill's gonna try to keep this going forward, because I really do feel like it's important.
And it's not just O'Neill though, you know, it's cool to see, you know, the city of Santa Cruz looking into it, you know, and this kind of goes with Save the Waves is, you know, partnering with the city of Santa Cruz and the Parks and Rec department. You know, we just signed, you know, an MOU with them, and that kind of shows, you know, their interest in, you know, looking after their surfing resources.
Well, we've had every major politician from this entire area on this show, and I always say to them, like, do you understand how important surfing is to the community and to tourism?
If you
and
didn't
to
have the
the
waves, you might as well roll up and all go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a huge
If you didn't
part.
have The waves weren't there. It just went flat forever.
Just be Hollister.
You've been
Nothing against Hollister.
You might just pack up and
But,
go.
nice,
but sometimes I feel like some of the mucky-muck uppers forget how important the surf industry and surfing culture is to this town and to the future of this town. And so it's great to hear that they're getting it now. Mm-hmm. And so,
And I would add, this is my shameless plug for the environment, but you know, I would add that part of surfing culture in Santa Cruz is that we have this super unique ocean environment.
For
like
sure.
Steamer Lane is like no other place on earth. This
Right.
crazy,
Right.
you know, weird squiggles of
arena.
you know, the arena, the weird point, all the little zigs and zags of the coastline. That is not what Huntington looks like.
No.
Like it's not just a straight beach and then a, you know.
Huntington looks like a sand pit.
Yeah.
So let's get back to what you're doing. Do we have any updates of
Get the
surf
tent.
reserves? Like, get us up to speed.
We have a bunch of updates. Sean is on board as the coordinator for the Santa Cruz World Surfing Reserve. There's currently 10 World Surfing Reserves. We're on the cusp of dedicating the 11th, which is going to be in Playa Hermosa, Costa Rica.
Okay.
So big barrels, just epic beach break, river mouths, etc.
Stop right there. For people who are watching, when you say a surf reserve, what does that mean?
There's basically it's kind of we designate these places as being protected, and then we work with the
But
community.
are they protected? But once you leave, well, after the ceremony's gone done and you left,
Yeah.
are they being protected?
Yes.
And protected by whom?
The local
we-
government?
Okay.
By the local government, the local surf community, the local environmental groups.
So they
the
want you
local
there in the
businesses.
first place.
They want us-
Did they
they-
call you and go, "Hey, would you come down and protect our place"?
It's
or-
actually remarkably sophisticated, as
Okay.
Sean has seen the guts of the interior. We have
Comes from
communities
them.
actually
Comes from them?
apply,
Yeah.
so they have to fill out basically why they deserve to be a World Surfing Reserve. So there's 4 criteria. There's 20 sub-criteria that we check boxes. We got a 20-person vision council, so people like Steve Hawk and from Surfer and
Chad
Hugo
Nelson.
Taghome and Chad Nelson from Surf Rider and a bunch of people all weigh in on this. So we vote on one per year. And normally we get 4 to 5 applications.
Nice.
So we rejected places for this next round from like Morocco and all
wow.
this stuff. So they had to go through more paces, right? And so
Why don't you? Can I ask you a question? You select one. If these other places need to be protected too, why aren't you selecting like all of them?
we have a different strategy for that, but we keep it
Okay.
really limited because it keeps the community sort of hungry
Yeah.
to actually work on this.
Okay.
And so that when we ask them, okay, this is what you need to do, we work together with them to make a whole plan to say, here's the threats to our surf, whether it's a development or water quality or trash thing or sea level rise or they lost access to their waves. You know, any of those things, we chart it out and we set a plan with them, and then we work with them to actually implement that plan. And we've seen like people are like, oh, does that really work? I'm like, yeah, it does. Because
Well, and let's talk about San Miguel.
yeah,
Because that's, I think, one of the latest, right? Is that one of your, is there, besides
That's-
Costa Rica, is
we
that
have-
the,
that was a long-term effort. So
it took years to get San Miguel.
Unfortunately, it
to be-
took years. I thought it was going to be a pretty quick deal. I thought I'd come on your show, I'd talk about it, and a lot of the listeners,
nothing.
They would come in, and we would convince the government in Baja, just let's make this happen. Done deal. Turns out conservation is really hard
Yeah.
and takes a lot of years. So we 8 years on that campaign. We had
8 years.
over we had like 10,000 signatures.
You're not a patient person. I know you.
Fuck, I'm not patient.
So,
It makes it so hard.
let's fast forward 8 years. What's going on in San Miguel in Baja California right now?
So we submitted all of the people from around the world that actually supported the creation of what we did was create the World Surfing Reserve, and then the work plan was really let's make this a state park so it's legally protected. So San Miguel is now a state park from the river mouth all the way up. All of the cobbles and sediment that flows to make the really epic Point Break river mouth there will be protected. So nobody's going to develop in there. The open space is there for the people of Ensenada. Right. It's a really cool story because they'd never had a state park. So imagine that. We got We got Wilder,
Everywhere.
we got Año,
Everywhere.
we got
Right.
Rio del Mar, we got Manresa, we got all this, all these state parks that we take for granted. They didn't have a single state park in northern Baja.
Yeah.
So this is the first one. And so to know that that's protected, and for me, it's like, I come on to these things, I hype it up, and people go, well, that was a cool story. Like, did that ever happen? Did it happen as soon as I would have liked it? No.
Yeah.
But it finally happened. The governor of Baja, signed the paper, issued a decree, and said, this is a state park. And the cool part is that it's a really important watershed from biodiversity and all the plants and animals there. But it's also the first place that surfing ever occurred in Mexico. So you think about that.
And what a great surf spot.
It's
San
awesome.
Miguel is awesome. And I look back in my life there because I've been surfing there many times. I could just see a giant earth mover scraping cobblestones out of the lagoon and stuff. And in Mexico, that stuff you wouldn't even see it.
It
You
could be
think
important.
twice about it and ruin it. But
It is
it's
so
protected.
good.
So I have pictures of waves I've got at San Miguel, like past the second jetty, like just insane. That in the future, kids are going to live that same vision because of the fact that it's saved.
And the thing is that this slow process really brought the community along. So I was down there in January at a surf contest. The Baja Surf Club put together a surf contest, really cool. People from San Diego and across the border competing against the local folks who are really shredding right now. And just like such a cool camaraderie. And then to know that place is the anchor of it,
Right.
and that we've now protected it, not just us, but the whole community was in.
I
Like
feel
that
like
was
there's
important.
many more spots just in Mexico that need you.
We're working on-
And then think about around the world. Like, is the
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Just
So
walking.
is the world are we in a critical point right now? Like, are you gonna be able to save the world? Nick, no
short
pressure.
answer.
Surfing world.
Short
Yeah.
answer is yes. No.
But I mean, seriously, like, isn't every major surf spot kind of in turmoil right now, a little bit?
Well, let's just talk about that for a second. Can I add to that?
Yeah.
10 years, right, since the World Surfing Reserve
Yeah.
of Steamer Lane. What has changed from the day that was the first, from the ceremony there at the lighthouse? What's changed to today at that?
Oh,
surf break?
that's such a good question. I think that's what we've been
In
working
addition to what he was talking
Yeah.
about, like what,
I think we put together the plan. We put it on the map of the city as being something really important. We worked through a lot of different things. We worked actively on water quality. So you heard me. I don't know when the last time I came on here and talked about this, but 2016, something like that. We talked about cowls. I mean, if you think back to 2012, right? Cowls. everybody
Worst
thought-
day ever.
Everybody thought it was like a toxic waste dump. You put your foot in at
You're going
Cowles,
surfing,
and
right?
it's gonna dissolve.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like you're gonna lose a foot, right? It was like I'm not gonna go in there. I'm gonna get sick. And it was like, I mean, it's not rocket science what we did. It was like pull the right people together, ask the hard questions, move forward on a plan, keep chipping it away. And now we've got 3 years. We're off the list. Every year it's dropped by 50%. We continue chipping away at it so that and Cowls is important. Yeah, it's important for longboarders and for kids that are starting out, but it's also important for junior guards, right?
Yeah.
Like kids go there and they get their first experience with the ocean.
How about the tourism economy of this town?
The history of it.
It's
the
huge.
history
The
of
history,
it?
Yeah.
The folks like Ride Away, if they're taking special needs people out there, and they can see like cognitive changes to those kids because they got in the water.
Of course, yeah.
And you don't have the parents on the beach going like, is my
But-
kid going to die from,
Right.
it's this waterborne disease?
Bacteria, yeah.
So I think like we're not going to claim all the credit because it wasn't just us. It was just us organizing things a little bit. It was a city, it was a county, it was Surfrider, it was a bunch of groups. And that was really the power is we created this platform
Yeah.
through the World Surfing Reserve and got everybody moving the same direction.
Right.
And acknowledging that like without surf, like Santa Cruz, we're not what we are without the surf. It defines this community.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, like a fuel gauge. I mean, let's say, are you looking upon your life right now? As tomorrow morning when you wake up, are you a professional surfer or more environmentalist? Which way are you leaning
That's a
towards?
really good question. By the way.
Which way are you leaning towards?
You said you didn't prep.
Yeah.
That was good.
I'd like to say both.
Okay. Can you do? Is it possible to do both?
I mean,
Because to give yourself as a professional athlete, you got to give it all. Is that correct?
yeah. I mean, yeah. So I mean, that's the hard part. I'm not surfing.
Have you decided yet?
on
And
what?
maybe you're undecided with which way you.
Have you told your sponsors yet?
I'm trying to go, do both.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to prove that, it's possible to have a job and also be a professional surfer.
Yeah.
With working remotely these days, it's possible. But yeah, like you mentioned, Cliff, Capono, he's a really good surfer, and he's also, a really smart environmental, scientist.
So there's people out there that you can that you're looking. People out there that you're looking at.
So he kind of works around the tide, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
Well, yeah.
I think it's always been there.
High
though.
tide
I mean,
meeting.
Yeah,
you
he's
look
like,
back-
hey, it's
you-
low tide.
You look back and you got people like Ricky Grigg, right? One of the best big wave surfers on North Shore in the 60s.
Yeah, famous.
Right?
Ricky Grigg.
But he was also one of the forefront oceanographers, PhD at Scripps,
Wow.
taught at
Right.
Scripps forever. Like, there was no conflict with that. And I think you start to see, at least some folks in the big wave community, like, their ongoing success in their career as a professional surfer is in the environmental realm. Greg Long, Ramon Navarro. Like, all these guys stayed probably more relevant because they were doing things around the environment
Yeah.
and still continuing to rip.
Okay.
You know?
Well, you kind of, I don't want to say this lightly, but that's kind of what the Patagonia ambassador type thing, It's like a little bit along those lines, like relevant because of your efforts to save the planet. I want to segue into something else, Shaun. You spent many years working for Richard Schmidt.
Yep. Yeah, teaching people right at Kells.
You taught people how to surf through Richard Schmidt, who is undoubtedly one of the best professional surfers from Santa Cruz.
Yep.
Did he have any words of wisdom for you during those years?
He did. Yeah, he helped out with Save the Waves too. He's an ambassador for the Santa Cruz World Surfing Reserve, and Richard's just an amazing guy. He's so happy and so stoked all the time, and just so nice to
Yeah, he
everyone.
is.
So I think I learned a lot, like teaching people, and just seeing the stoke there actually is in surfing,
Right.
for people that are beginning, or just even myself, pushing people into their first wave.
And I feel like there's people egging Santa Cruz. You should have been here 10 years ago or 20 years ago. You're teaching somebody it's their first day here, and it's the best day of their life.
Yeah.
Does that change how you feel like about how times are today? Because things have changed in town, right? It's more crowded.
I don't know when Richard started. I mean, he started a while ago and was teaching people, to surf at
It's, I
Kells.
think, been 35 years now or something.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got here, I never heard of surfing. I played soccer, right? Never heard of surfing. And I look out, surf, looks like fun, so I want to take a lesson. So I don't know why, I must have picked up the Yellow Pages or whatever, or something like that.
You actually called Richie?
Call Richie.
Nice.
I love it.
Call Richie or
This is
she-
news
or
right
Mar-
now,
or
folks.
Marissa onto the phone. I don't know when. This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But long story short,
This is the 80s?
Yeah, 83.
That's how long he's been
84.
doing it.
So he took me out to Sharks right here, pushed me in my first wave. Long story short, and to this day, every time I see him, I say thank you.
Ah,
Rad.
that's sweet.
That's
To
cool.
this day, every time I say, and he's always like, Neil, you can tell me thank you. Yeah, thanks, Richie.
Well, I
because
feel
he
like
told me-
Richie-
he's the guy who taught me how to.
He's one of our first ambassadors. He was the quiet giant.
Quiet
VC
time
VC tortured everybody, and Richie showed everybody how to do it. It was kind of how it went back then.
Right.
But anybody else that you would look back on and say had like that Richie level of influence outside of your father?
I rode for Rip Curl back in the day, and Matt Rockhold helped me out a lot. He took me under his wing, and brought me down to like the surf mags and stuff like that. And one thing that he said that kind of resonated with me is always look after the next crop of kids and look after the groms. That's always kind of stuck with me. And nowadays, when I help out with the Santa Cruz High Surf team, I teach them about surfing, but I also bring them some Save the Waves gear, like some shirts and stuff, and say, hey, like there's other stuff outside of surfing, and you don't have to be a professional surfer to go surfing.
Right. Well, and also too, there's like this point in life, like everyone wants to buy a house, have a family, hopefully, live contently here in this community. And there's only literally a handful of people that can do it off of surfing, right? And so there's other things outside of surfing that can keep you in this town to raise a family and own a home, which is everybody's goal. So I like that outlook, and I think Matt's theory of looking after the kids is really good.
Sean, are you married?
I am, I got married last year.
You did?
Look at that shiny ring, folks.
That's very shiny.
So ladies,
Better say
don't
hi-
call.
better say
No
hi to the
Instagram messages.
You better say hi to the missus.
Is she watching?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
She
I'm
might
just
watch
saying.
later on. You better say something.
And everybody else, keep moving. All right.
But no kids of my own yet. I know
Yeah.
he was talking about Nick, and he's got his 2 kids.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great. You guys have great kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You
My
know.
advice is just keep practicing. That's all you got to
Yeah,
do.
do that as
Just-
long as you can.
And keep traveling while I
Yeah,
can.
it'll happen when it happens.
Well, thanks, Sean, for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Did we cover everything?
Well, we have the 10th anniversary. We got
let's talk about that.
shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
10th anniversary of the World Surfing Reserve will
Yeah.
be on April 29th.
Big bash.
So we're going to be out at the Seymour Center, which
Yeah.
is as far out of town as you can get on the other side. So if you're on the east side,
You got a haul.
you got to head the other side.
Yeah.
Which
It's
is,
kind of confusing.
by the
to
way,
get
it's a beautiful spot out there.
It's
you know,
amazing.
It
yeah,
is.
the folks at the Seymour Center are fantastic. Jonathan and crew are just really great. They're sponsors. O'Neill is chipping in to help sponsor this. So really our goal is to sort of say, here's all the things that actually accomplished, like your question,
Yeah.
and then here's where we're going as a community. Right? We got big things. We got challenges. The trash situation is still quite gnarly at a lot of the beaches. We got climate change to contend with. How are we gonna adjust to that? As sea levels rise and things erode quicker. So a lot of work is going to be
This is in April. This April coming up, right?
April
Okay.
29th.
Maybe we can be there with our podcast.
You actually you're invited.
Thank
We were going to try to gin it up and get it recorded because we're going to do some cool stuff on storytelling.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's do that. We can record the whole thing right here.
Yeah,
a great
we got a ride of the reserve for those surfers out there.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
I mean, we're starting the first inaugural contest of the Ride of the Reserve. So Santa Cruz World Surfing Reserve, from Natural Bridges to Opal Cliffs.
Oh.
Through this winter, the best ride of the reserve. Submit it via Instagram. I want it to become this, cool thing. In a few years of having bragging rights of like I got the ride of the reserve.
All right, that's very cool.
And so what we're doing at the 10th anniversary is, we're getting people like Richard Schmidt to talk about their most, favorite and most memorable ride of the reserve. So
Yeah.
I know he's got some good rides, so
I know what it is.
Yeah.
Cold water. No. The No Cord Classic. He rode a wave from outside First Peak all the way past the hook.
Oh my
I
God!
watched it live.
You could probably
He
just
knows
listen
that
to
wave.
him. We just
Yeah.
give it to Richard and be like, "Tell us all the best."
He
rides.
won
Tell
every
us your
wave.
top 10." I was
He'll
thinking,
win
I
it
was
all.
like the
Yeah.
Swift Street.
No,
one that he told.
I saw that one too.
He told me the story, and then
I saw that.
somehow the video popped up.
He caught a bomb at Swift Street on the. It
He
was
rode to
all
the
in
beach.
'83. It was gigantic.
83.
Yeah,
83,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah. I saw it live.
Sean's got
It was
little,
too big to surf.
Well, not for him.
But I was a kid. Richie was the legend.
Yeah.
But we went over there and we watched. I saw Richie get that wave. It was gigantic. But I also watched Richie get the one at the No Cord Classic at Pleasure Point that he rode literally from outside First Peak to the hook. And around the corner was gone.
What?
And he won the contest. The judges just threw the yellow flag up. Richie won. It was
You're
insane.
around the hook.
Yeah, around the hook. Gone. There was a pile of Bob Pearson broken boards that day, and I love telling Bob about that because Bob kind of sponsored everybody back then, and it was no cords, and it was giant, and it was high tide, and at the end of the day, there was like this giant pile of broken arrows, and I was like, "Damn it, Bob!" It was
That's
gnarly.
amazing.
You want to thank some people in your life right now while we have a chance?
Mrs.
Yeah. Thanks to Haley, my wife, and yeah, she's probably the biggest supporter in my life. Helps me. She's kind of like my surf manager. Also, just kind of my everything. Yeah, scheduling conference calls and just to talk. When we're busy, I was just talking to Nick about this with his life. Just it can get busy sometimes, and just planning time, to talk to the missus is important.
Awesome. And Neil, I think we should ask also. We had the legends of Santa Cruz on the show, and we asked them that one question.
Decade?
No,
What?
the best surf session
Yeah.
of the one when you close your eyes and you think about that one day. You've traveled the world, and I know there's like, if you were to close your eyes and say, what would it be?
I don't know. You want to give me some time? What was yours?
Well, I mean, I know mine. It was Tabarua.
Okay.
Yeah, I caught a bomb at Cloud Break. But it's easy for me because I got a bomb at Cloud Break.
That's a
and
special
so
spot.
it was insane. Yeah, and Peter Cabrino was on his shoulder and gave me shakas. It was
My best wave was the wave that Richie pushed me into.
Well, then,
Nice.
so that's
Mhm.
so. Now that you've had a chance to think about it, is there a moment in your life that, like, if your kid said, "What's the day, Dad?"
I don't know, Nick. You got one?
Oh, you were talking about this on the way over. So I was like, where are the places that you went? But I will go to J Bay. I got one real lucky one on the swell that was out there, and I was just going to go surf boneyards because there's less people. And then somehow I found myself going past the pack, and I was like, wow, I'm going really, really fast right now. So it was just very memorable.
Wow,
How-
J-Bay, and what a great iconic spot.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was one of those sessions of like.
I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Burdich, who's again trying to foil across the Pacific.
Chris, we've been emailing. Hi,
Yes,
Chris.
yo.
He is the man. He is a legend among not just surf. He's beyond surf.
He's
Yes.
beyond surf. He's
But
He-Man style. Yeah, it's
Sean's
great.
got many better waves than I have. Like Sean, one of Sean's worst waves would be one of my best waves.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so you've had some time.
Yeah.
Can I put you on the spot now?
Yeah,
You got
I
it?
thought of a good one.
Okay.
Yeah, so last year when Peter Mel caught his wave at Mavericks,
Yeah.
I was able to see that. I had just caught in a wave before that, and I think I was one of the only few people like on the inside that got to see like the whole wave, and so I remember just seeing that, just being like mesmerized pretty much.
Yeah. What a shocking moment, though. Seriously, like, what a wave.
Yeah, just he paddled in, or caught it all the way, rode into the channel, and everyone was just looking at him like, "Are you serious? Like, did you really just do that?" And he was just, you could see him just kind of like taking it in, like
Did that really
he didn't
happen?
even really know it just happened. Like he's the best surfer out there, and it's taken him that long to get a wave like that. It's just
Wow.
insane. And so yeah, I got so inspired and so motivated after that. I paddled out there and got one myself, and it was an awesome day.
And wow, I mean, like the whole world saw that, but you actually saw that. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing that's rad about
It was
that.
special. I got
Yeah.
to see it, from the inside, at Mavericks, watching them, just get covered in the shadows of the barrel. It was special.
And to see see John go out there and give him a hug afterwards, like
Yeah.
it was cool. That was a great.
that was the
moment.
best reaction to any wave that you ever caught. He just goes,
Yeah, he's like, I can't even believe it. Well, and what's funny is I saw Pete, like, we share a wall here.
Yeah.
And Pete's next door. The next day I saw Pete, and he's like, yeah, it happened. Yeah, he was, like, so nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, you literally
I don't
just
know.
caught the best wave of the year
No,
for the entire
of
planet.
like the spot.
No, not for the spot, but for the planet.
for the play.
And he was so nonchalant about it. Pete's like, yeah, whatever, I get it.
Do you think, Sean, seeing that, do you think that then the trend is like more big wave stuff? Or is it like try to pursue more of that like that
Beat
wow? Or is it sort of like continue on more contests and there's people waving at you? God, you're popular. But what is it, is that the next is that the next frontier?
I definitely got like hooked on Mavericks that day, just seeing how special that was. That was a special day. But I think I love competing and just like pushing myself, and like we were talking about earlier, just there's a lot of crappy waves that you can surf, but it's those days I love to surf and crappie surf because I know the competitions are usually in bad waves, and it's just
Is that why we went out today?
that's why I made you go out.
You know, and that's why Chris Gallagher was one of the best surfers from Santa Cruz.
Yep.
That he practiced at the beaches every day. When the waves were good out front, he could load up his car and went down to the closeouts and did that. So one more question, Neil. When you surf tomorrow and you pull your board out of the car, what is it? And give me dimensions.
I have a Bob Pearson surfboard, actually. Yeah, it's a 6'1", 19, and 2.5.
Nice. And historically, a lot of Pearsons in your life?
No, I've actually kind of just started working with Bob recently. He's a neighbor of mine. He lives 3 houses down.
Nice.
So it's
He's
pretty
like,
nice.
come here, kid.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And Bob's so into it. He really is.
He's so
He's
into
totally into it.
After all these years, you know,
Yeah.
he's still just, you know, I go over
Frothing.
there, out of his front door, you know, and he's just, give me your board, let's look at it. And, you know, we talk for half hour at a time and just, you know, talk surfboards and talk design.
I love
That's
that.
him.
Yeah.
That is
Bob,
so
I gotta give
awesome.
Bob a lot of credit too, because he's been a fervent supporter of Save the Waves
Yeah.
and the World Surf
Yeah.
Resort.
Absolutely.
He's on the committee,
Yeah.
so we have a committee that kind of oversees everything with Gene McKenzie and a bunch of other folks.
The legendary Bob Pearson.
And he shows up. He shows up every time. And last time he was like, I took 4 pages of notes. Last time it was all handwritten notes.
You gotta see those
And
notes.
we got to see the notes. We haven't verified, but he has been a great supporter, and he's just a legend. Like, he knows everyone. He's been everywhere.
That's why
It's
he was
just-
our first guest, our very first show.
Nick, if anyone wants to talk about world surf reserves, please can you tell them where to track you down?
Yeah, come check us out at www.savethewaves.org just to kind of get a flavor of what we do. You can check us out on Instagram. So we get a big shout out to Emmett and Lauren. So
Instagrammers.
Emmett's running the show on Instagram. So it's at Save the Waves Coalition.
Okay.
You can kind of track us down. Or
And are you
find
going to
us
start doing the big parties again now that COVID's fizzling out? Are we have anything planned for the future?
The Bash at Seymour.
Well, we got this. We
Yeah,
got this
Seymour.
one. We
And
kinda did this
again,
instead. Yeah.
Seymour is when?
April 29th.
Okay.
April 29th. You can click the link, and I think it's pretty much free for anybody to come. We're going to have
Alright.
the stories. We're going to have the legends. We're going to have beers. We're going to have food trucks. Possibly some live
We
music.
want to be there. We want to do some recording.
Sean will be
Yeah.
there. You guys should come and record. I
Yeah.
actually think recording the stories would be pretty epic.
Yeah, we should
So
become
if we,
I
record
agree
if
with
we
stories.
do that.
Yeah.
It would be really fun.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Sean, I
then,
want to thank you for coming on the show, right?
Maybe the cold war this year. Who knows?
And is that
It's all happening.
It's all happening.
percentage of cold water happening in 2022 is?
Let's just say 100.
That's breaking news, Neil. You heard it here
Speaking
first.
it to fruition.
Yeah, it's okay.
He's manifesting right now.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, by the way, Mr. Shaun Burns in the house tonight.
Yep.
Congrats to your success in surfing, success in education, and now in your workplace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
and,
Shaun.
yeah, we look
You too.
forward to
Nik
hearing more.
Strong-Cvetich.
Oh,
Nick,
that was good. Thank you.
thank you for being a big fan of the show.
It's.
Yeah.
He calls me.
Thank you for coming on. I think thanks
Big
for being a
fan.
fan.
Yeah, big
I am one of the
fan.
biggest fans.
I
I will-
have a pick with you, though.
What?
I didn't get the brewskis. The brewskis supposed to be.
I know. I didn't bring my
Supposed to be
warm
the shitty-
beers
supposed to be
from
the shitty beer.
my warm Rainiers because we went surfing and I forgot.
That's all right, man.
But I'll buy
Next
it.
time.
I love this show. I
Yeah.
gotta say, it's so fun to hang out with you guys.
Thank you.
And like as we were saying beforehand, like can't believe it's been 9 some
Whatever
years
it
since
is.
the first time it
It's
came
been a
on.
long time, yeah.
And it's just awesome you guys are doing this, and I think people just appreciate it from the community.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
it's great.
Thank you.
It's hilarious.
I appreciate that.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes unprofessional. Sometimes it's surprisingly professional. That's the biggest thing. That's why we keep coming back. So
That's right.
thank you
Who's
guys for
next?
having us.
Who's next? Oh,
Jimmy Panetta?
Friday, 25th. Next Friday, Congressman Jimmy Panetta.
We got the congressman coming on
And then
next.
followed by
They
next
asked him
Tuesday.
if he's going to come out to the 10th anniversary.
We should.
Yeah,
Maybe we
right.
can do that. That might
We
be
emailed
good. Maybe we should get
Let's
an
get his-
invitation.
We
Official
emailed him. We
Why don't
emailed
you
him.
send me
invite?
something?
We'll email him again, but
Send me
bring him out.
something.
Yeah, we'd love to have him.
Can I present him with an invitation on
Yeah,
the show?
we got it.
Okay, we got that
We'll
done.
email it over.
Jimmy Panetta,
And next Tuesday, Jimbo
Jimbo Phillips. So we got a couple big
God,
shows
you have
coming
legends.
up.
Wow.
Yeah,
This
Jimbo
is a
Phillips
good
coming up. So thank you everybody for tuning in to another great show of the Off the Lip Radio Show.
It'll be on YouTube in about an
Anytime soon.
hour. And then
Yes.
it's be on iHeartRadio and Spotify, iTunes, all the podcast platforms.
It's only been 10 years, but we got Shaun Burns on. Thank you, Sean, by the
Thank
way,
you,
for
guys.
being on the show. It's good to
Stoked to
see
be
you.
here.
Nick, always
Hey.
a pleasure.
You guys are the best.
The World
absolutely.
Surf Reserves are the best. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Tyler Fox, thanks for having us on the Santa Cruz Waves
Yeah, T.
Facebook
Fox.
page. See everybody soon. Good night.